Myst, Might, Mayhem. By Hanjung Liuya. Chapter 473. Great Calamity. Part 1. Blood from the corpses of those killed. Those droplets of blood stirred and then slowly began to rise. Slither. Li Jiyom, the corpse blood valley master, who had been unaware of the floating blood droplets due to facing Zhang Haiyan, the leader of the Righteous Alliance and one of the seven heavens at the pinnacle of the current martial world, only noticed as the world gradually turned red. What is this? The mountain peak's floor was so soaked in blood it was soggy, and the floating blood droplets made the world seem dyed in blood. Just then, Zhang Haiyan, the Righteous Alliance leader, scanned the surroundings and spoke. "Show yourself if you've come, Soul." Soul? A strange light flickered in Li Jiyom's eyes. Has she returned? At that moment. Poof. Though he hadn't taken his eyes off him, Zhang Haiyan's form suddenly blurred and appeared right in front of him. Without time to think, he leaned back and tried to create distance by flying away, but, swish. Suddenly, his sword was trying to cut his neck. Even if he wanted to avoid it, it happened in such a split second that his body couldn't react to the speed. Can't even block a single strike? Aside from injuries, was the gap between the 8 stars and the 7 heavens truly unbridgeable? As he stared intently at the unavoidable sword, at that very moment. Clang! Just before the blade touched his neck. Despite it being a situation where interference seemed impossible, something that surged from the blood on the ground blocked the blade of the famous sword Ily that was about to cut his neck. Simultaneously. Whoosh! Huh! Li Jiyom's form was thrown backward by an eerie and sinister energy. Knowing it wasn't meant to injure but to throw him back, Li Jiyom didn't use his inner energy to resist the force. As he was pushed back, his eyes caught a glimpse of a being wearing a crown. She was Ryu Soul Changrayang, the last head of the Moonbane clan whom they had served for generations. Even as a vengeful spirit, you're still weak. Swayed by sentiment, you throw away the perfect opportunity to cut this neck and save a descendant of that house. In response to Zhang Haiyan's sneering words, Changrayang glared at him fiercely and spoke. What would you know, who only understands taking? So, isn't that why you've come to take back again? My, clang. Before he could finish speaking, Zhang Haiyan's famous sword Ily was deflected upward by Changrayang's long pipe. Shut up. Zhang Haiyan's lips curled up at her explosive spiritual energy. Has she transcended the limits of a vengeful spirit? This was spiritual energy beyond purple spirit, no, even surpassing that. Even with the art of solitude, it was impossible to create such a powerful vengeful spirit even with time and effort. It showed just how extreme her resentment had become. However, swish. The moment his sword was deflected, Zhang Haiyan's sword energy struck at Changrayang's forehead like lightning. Changrayang quickly sank into the blood on the ground, but in an instant, the crown she was wearing shattered and flew off. Slide. Having thus avoided Zhang Haiyan's strike, her form rose from the blood about 10 steps away. Looking at her, Zhang Haiyan smiled and said, "Shall we duel with swords like in the old days? Do you think I'll be swept along by your wishes?" She had no intention of doing what her enemy wanted. Now that she had drawn him into her world, she intended to slash him to pieces and kill him for certain. Swish! As she swung her long pipe, the countless blood droplets floating in the air began to tremble. At first glance, it looked like the droplets were vibrating, but they're rotating. Li Jiyom, watching from a distance, could see that this was a phenomenon caused by the blood droplets spinning at high speed. Whirl. Though hard to see due to their small size, the blood droplets were spreading thinly and rotating rapidly, increasing their sharpness and power. Was she controlling all these countless blood droplets? It was jaw-dropping. Indeed. The smile disappeared from Zhang Haiyan's face as he became quite serious. That's how ominous Changrayang's current actions were. At this crack, his forehead split open and a third eye opened. Li Jiyom's eyes widened at the sight. Could that be? It was similar to what he had seen from Na Yelriang, the eldest young master, in the inner palace of the Heaven and Earth Society. Then does this mean that Zhang Haiyan, the Righteous Alliance leader, is also connected to that secret society? Just how formidable is the secret society that even Zhang Haiyan, one of the 7 heavens at the pinnacle of the current martial world, is involved? Li Jiom was inwardly concerned. How many others might be hidden, he wondered. Just then. Die. Swish. As Chang Ryang extended her long pipe, the rapidly rotating blood droplets all rushed towards Zhang Haiyan at once. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Each rotating blood droplet had enough power to blow away an entire body part if it penetrated. She thought that even Mok Gan couldn't avoid this technique she had carefully developed over a long time. But she saw Zhang Haiyan's lips curl up, when she expected him to be flustered. Flinch. What on earth does that mean? As she wondered, Zhang Haiyan stabbed his famous sword ILY into the ground and spread his arms wide. Is he really going to take this head-on? At that moment. Pop, 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 pop. The fiercely rotating blood droplets flying towards him slid away to other directions before even touching his body. Chang Ryang's expression hardened at this sight. The ritual of repulsion. That technique of deflecting incoming strong forces as if sliding them away was one of the 8 thought-shattering techniques, the ritual of repulsion. He had reached the highest level in the forms of the 8 thought-shattering techniques that had attained enlightenment. Pop, 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 pop. The deflected blood droplets flew towards the surviving corpse Blood Valley warriors. Dodge. Li Jiom shouted hurriedly, but it was already too late. Exhausted from fending off enemies, they had no strength left to avoid this. Bang! Just as casualties were about to occur, Chang Ryang slammed her palm down towards the ground. Then. Whoosh! The pooled blood surged upwards, creating a wall surrounding the area. Thanks to this, the blood droplets deflected by the ritual of repulsion were absorbed into the blood wall, preventing the damage they might have inflicted in reverse. Huff. Huff. Though she tried not to show it, Chang Ryang's complexion was not good. In fact, she had not yet fully recovered her spiritual energy. Amidst this, driven by the sole determination to thwart Mok Gan's scheme, she had raced here tirelessly day and night. Hence, she had aimed to settle the match with Zhang Haiyan, who could be considered Mok Gan's avatar, in a short time, but that was no longer feasible. If she used another large technique that consumed spiritual energy, she might put herself in more danger. So. Swish. With a wave of her hand, the demonic intent domain blood realm that had dyed the peak's floor and surroundings blood red was withdrawn as if it had never existed. As everyone looked bewildered, Zhang Haiyan spoke as if he had expected this. That's about all you can do with an incomplete body, right? Any further resistance is meaningless. Resistance? You're mistaken about something. This is revenge. Revenge. Ha ha ha. That also requires strength. What you're trying to do is merely struggling. So wool. Chang Ryang snorted at those words. Fine. Then I'll struggle to my heart's content. Until my kicks crush your skull. Swish. With those words, Chang Ryang took the initial stance of the moon vein sword technique. At this, Li Jiom shouted. My lord. Take this. With those words, Li Jiom threw the scabbard he had been carrying on his back to her. Catch. Without even looking at the flying scabbard, she reached back and caught it, then immediately drew the sword from the scabbard. Ching! With a clear sword cry, a pure white sword revealed itself. It was the famous sword Sun Yun, a unique weapon made exclusively for her by Gu Moonhyuk, a descendant of the great craftsman Gu Yijia. The moment she grasped the sword, Sun Yun trembled with sword light and a strong resonance flowed out. Woong! Sun Yun, held in its master's hand after 100 years, was crying. You've waited a long time too, Sun Yun. Truly a famous sword. It recognized its master even though she was grasping it in spirit form, not with a physical body. At that moment, an unknown energy flowed in from Sun Yun. Whoosh. This is? It was the emotion that had accumulated in the famous sword Sun Yun over 100 years. The 100 years of emotion had become a highly pure energy, and as it entered her, her severely depleted spiritual energy began to gradually recover. Chang Ryong's eyes flickered with a strange light. Though it was a famous sword, it wasn't a demonic sword, so how did it have such an ability? Was this your provision, Gu Moonhyuk? Or did 100 years of time make you like this? The master craftsman Gu Moonhyuk, who made and brought her the sword. He seemed to have made the best sword for her. Tightly gripping the famous sword Sun Yun, Chang Ryong returned to a swordsman's mindset after a long time and took the initial stance. Whoosh! The moment she took the initial stance, a sharp sword energy flowed out in all directions. Seeing her changed aura, Zhang Haiyan-mun, the Righteous Alliance leader, pulled out his famous sword ILY that had been stuck in the ground. Meanwhile, she sent her thoughts to Li Jiyom, the Corpse Blood Valley master, so that only he could hear. Leave this one to me and go tell the leaders right now that they must stop the fight with the Righteous Alliance and the Evil Alliance. Why? As Li Jiyom showed a puzzled look. This is his scheme. He's not just aiming for my soul, Wai So Yun, or the Heaven and Earth Society. What he's really targeting is to gather the majority of martial artists in one place. Before she could finish speaking, Zhang Haiyan-mun, who had suddenly closed the distance, unleashed the Heaven Sword technique towards her. In response, she hurriedly countered with the Moon Sword technique using Sun Yun. Clang, 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 clang. As the famous swords ILY and Sun Yun clashed, blue sparks flew and the sound of space being torn echoed in all directions. Unlike before, Zhang Haiyan-mun's gaze became strange the moment their swords crossed. It was the first time in 100 years that they had crossed swords. However, this was only for a moment, and soon he began to push her back with dazzlingly intricate sword techniques. Clang, 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 clang. To think I'd sense his color in the Moon Sword technique. The sword Chang Ryong was wielding was not the Moon Sword technique he had known before. Rather, it had become similar to his sword technique. This was enough to twist his mind. Clang, 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 clang. As the sword clash intensified, perhaps finding it difficult to send thoughts separately while focusing on the fight, Chang Ryong shouted at Li Jiyom. Hurry and stop them. Li Jiyom hesitated for a moment at her cry. This was because he had to momentarily abandon his duty to protect Wai So Yun, who could be considered Chang Ryong's reincarnation. However, unable to disobey her order, he soon flew off. Poof! As Li Jiyom descended from the peak, Zhang Haiyan-mun, who had been exchanging sword techniques, sneered. It's already too late. No. I won't let things go as you wish. How pitiful. So Wool, you can't stop anything. Now, let's forget everything and be together again. Shut up. Even if this is the last and I perish, I will never be with you. Clang. Chang Ryong deflected the sword upward and wrapped blood-colored spiritual energy around her sword. Then she tried to pierce Zhang Haiyan-mun's face by rotating the blood-colored spiritual energy. Zhang Haiyan-mun gave a meaningful smile, then. Sneer. Clang. He's blocking this? But that wasn't the end. Crack. Not only did he block her blood-colored spiritual energy-infused sword strike, but he also deflected it upward using the pear blossom grafting technique, infusing it with his own inner energy. Whoosh! The force was so strong that Chang Ryong's spirit body was sent soaring upwards. She was suddenly propelled nearly 30 jang upwards and could only stop herself by wrapping spiritual energy around herself. As she stopped like that, Zhang Haiyan-mun had already caught up to her. Chang Ryong tried to attack him as she regained her balance, but, flinch. She had to stop as she saw the scene before her eyes. This was because she could see something rushing towards this place, blackening the ground beyond the horizon that wasn't visible even from the peak of the 10,000 Great Mountains. Though hard to see clearly due to the distance, it was undoubtedly evil spirits and monsters. They were grotesque beings that could be called evil spirits and monsters. An incalculable number of these grotesque beings were swarming towards the 10,000 great mountains. Judging by their speed, they would arrive here before long. With his back to them, Zhang Haiyan, the Righteous Alliance leader, opened his mouth. "I told you. It's already too late." Ha ha ha. Chapter 474. Great Calamity. Part 2. Countless evil spirits and monsters filling the horizon beyond. Although she had guessed that he was trying to cause another great calamity like before, Chang Ryong was left speechless at the sight of so many evil spirits and monsters. Even if a large army of humans were to push down like that, it would be enough to fall into despair, but this was enough to take the breath away even from her, a spirit. Looking at her like this, Zhang Haiyan, the Righteous Alliance leader, with his back to the evil spirits and monsters, spoke with a face full of madness while tapping his forehead. In a game of chess, one must not look just one move ahead. Look at those below. The entrance to the 10,000 great mountains. That place was literally a battlefield of hell. They were killing each other over the ideological conflict between righteousness and evil. Looking at them, Zhang Haiyan sneered. "The more experience, the better. I learned through many errors. There's no need to suppress the human race with greater force. You. Mere beasts harm other beings to survive day by day. But humans are different. They harm each other just because their thoughts differ. Yes, Ryu So-woo. You can't refute it either. That's human nature. They try to destroy each other over trivial ideological conflicts. Shut up. Isn't this your scheme? Scheme? Ha ha ha. Isn't it more ridiculous that this happens with just one scheme? It's human nature to try to harm each other. They're so eager to devour each other that they don't even notice the flames rising to their chins when just a small spark is thrown." Chang Ryong alternately looked at the evil spirits and monsters rushing in from beyond the horizon and the three major factions waging war. If they continue fighting like this, it will truly lead to mutual destruction. Although it was still the early stages and both sides maintained over 70% of their forces, by the time those arrive, their numbers will have significantly decreased and they'll already be exhausted. If that happens, they'll be swept up in the great calamity without a chance to react. I must stop this. She couldn't let things go as he wished. Only by stopping the war now and joining forces could they respond to those evil spirits and monsters. I need to spread the demonic intent domain to divert their attention. As someone whose vengeful spirit had already surpassed the purple spirit level, she could spread the demonic intent domain over a vast area. Although the sun was still up, it would be possible for a very brief moment. The one in front of her wasn't important right now. After all, he wasn't even the real body. Chang Ryong moved her fingers slightly. Then, whoosh! Blood poured down from the air like a waterfall, engulfing Zhang Haiyan, the Righteous Alliance leader. Knowing that this alone wasn't enough, she made a gesture of clenching her hand towards the pouring blood waterfall. Grip! Along with this, the blood gathered and condensed. As the blood compressed more and more into a spherical shape, she extended her index finger towards it. Then, boom! At that moment, the surrounding space seemed to compress, converging into a single point, and the blood sphere was sucked into the center. It was the void suppression, one of the 8 thought-shattering techniques. This should be enough to bind him for a moment. Flinch. At that instant, Chang Ryong hurriedly twisted her body. As she turned, the famous sword ILY, imbued with blue sword energy, barely grazed her. At this, she spun her body and unleashed the full moon technique with the famous sword Sun Yun. The sword energy spreading out in a wide circle was split by someone's sword energy unleashed through fingertips. Swish! The one who split it was Zhang Haiyan, the Righteous Alliance leader. Zhang Haiyan spoke to Chang Ryong with eyes that had turned coldly. I didn't expect this. To think you'd choose to save those vermin over revenge. I said I wouldn't let things go as you wish. Even if it's the obsession of revenge, your mind should be full of me alone, not enough room for anything else. Huh. At Zhang Haiyanman's words, Chang Ryang's gaze turned icy cold. She hadn't understood until now. She had only thought that his madness exploded because he couldn't have her. But these words now were utterly shocking. She couldn't understand why he, who claimed to want her, was trying to take away everything from her, and it gave her goosebumps. Even if it was desire, did he want her to think only of him? You're truly the worst. Can obsession, when it turns to madness, become this ugly? Despite her disappointment, Zhang Haiyanman didn't care. He rather smiled at Chang Ryang. Yes. Your mind should be filled only with me. Get lost. Poof. With those words, Chang Ryang flew backwards, avoiding the sword energy flying towards her. Swish. She dodged. A strange light flickered in Zhang Haiyanman's eyes. He had thought she wouldn't be able to dodge this due to her mind being scattered by anger. However, contrary to his judgment, her concentration was now at its peak. After dodging the sword energy, Chang Ryang waved her hand, creating hundreds of arrows made of blood and shot them towards Zhang Haiyanman. Bang! Along with this, she flew towards the 10,000 Great Mountains. There was no more time to waste with him. However, Woon! At that moment, numerous pillars appeared around her. This is? It resembled the pillars of the Four Peaks linking technique that Mok Jianan used, but the number was different. There were 36 pillars. As these pillars surrounded her, layers of surfaces made of spell power were instantly created, and she was trapped inside. At this, Chang Ryang swung Sun Yun wrapped in spiritual energy to break through, but clang! Far from breaking, the wall of spell power didn't even get a scratch. It was a sealing technique even more intricate than the Four Peaks linking technique. Chang Ryang turned her head to glare at Zhang Haiyanman. Zhang Haiyanman, forming a hand seal with his left hand, raised the corner of his mouth and shrugged. Even without martial arts, with just magic arts and techniques, I have reached the pinnacle of this world. There is no way for you to escape from here, so wool. Bang! Bang! Ignoring his words, Chang Ryang tried to destroy the sealing technique made of spell power. She didn't want to listen to anything he said anymore. Zhang Haiyanman sneered at her behavior. Wait here. I'll soon bring the vessel containing your soul. Swish. As soon as those words ended, Zhang Haiyanman's body blurred and disappeared. Seeing this, Chang Ryang gritted her teeth and swung her sword infused with blood-colored spiritual energy towards the wall of the sealing technique. Clang, 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 clang. As she swung her sword like this, she soon changed her mind. This wasn't something that could be broken in this way. In her mind, she recalled the single sword strike that Mok Jianan used to concentrate all his power into one point. She had watched this countless times from closer than anyone else. Power. If a mortal could do it, there's no reason I can't. She then began to concentrate all her spiritual energy on the tip of the famous sword Sun Yun. Li Jiyom, the Corpse Blood Valley master, looked around with bewildered eyes. He wanted to announce that this was a scheme of the secret society and that the war should be stopped, as ordered by his lord Chang Ryang, but it was already too late for that. The warriors of the former Heaven and Earth Society, the Righteous Alliance, and the Evil Alliance were all mixed up, killing each other, and in this situation, could they really stop? Moreover, the highest-ranking officials were fighting against the leaders of the enemies, so there was nothing that could be done. Even if they stopped on this side, it was questionable whether the Righteous Alliance or the Evil Alliance would stop. What on earth should I do? As Jiyong was pondering, someone suddenly caught his eye. Stop. I am from the righteous faction. I am not an enemy. It was none other than Mok Yuqion. He had been taken as a hostage of the righteous faction along with Mok Jianan, but had become a disciple of Bright Blade King Sun Yun. Having become a disciple of Sun Yun and with his brother Mok Jianan becoming the leader of this huge organization, Jiyong thought he would no longer cling to the righteous faction, but what was he doing now? Damn it! Mok Yuqion was pleading to the righteous faction warriors that he was one of them. However, there was no way this would reach the ears of these low-ranking warriors in the midst of war. They ignored this and attacked Ma Qiuqian. Nonsense. Die. Clang, 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 clang. Kook. Ma Qiuqian was frustrated but tried his best not to kill them, yet he was being driven into a corner as even the high-level experts of the Righteous Alliance began to appear. At this. Poof. Stop. Whoosh. Li Jiyom swung a fiery energy to help Ma Qiuqian, who was driven into a corner. Although dozens of peak and first-class experts were jointly attacking Ma Qiuqian, the situation changed when Li Jiyom, a master of the transformation realm, intervened. Damn it. Retreat. Retreat. Those who judged they couldn't handle Li Jiyom hurriedly turned away. Why? Although he had struggled to survive somehow, Ma Qiuqian had never abandoned his roots as a righteous path practitioner until the end. But the Righteous Alliance warriors, whom he considered allies, didn't believe him despite his cries that were almost screams, and it was actually an executive of the Heaven and Earth Society who saved him. Bang! 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 Ma Qiuqian repeatedly struck the ground with complicated feelings. Now he didn't know what was right and wrong anymore. Everything was incomprehensible, from joining hands with the Evil Alliance, their mortal enemy, to attack just one Heaven and Earth Society. Isn't this no different from the evil faction? In the end, how is this different from moving based on practical benefits rather than judging right and wrong? Ma Qiuqian was utterly disappointed in everything. Why? Why like this? Why are you so despondent? Disciple of Bright Blade King. Do you still think you're the same as them? Shut up. Ma Qiuqian couldn't finish his words. The concept of righteousness and evil had long been shattered in his once firm mind. To him, Li Jiyom, the Corpse Blood Valley Master, said, "You can judge for yourself what is right and wrong. There is no right or wrong in righteousness and evil to begin with. It's just that everyone aims for different things. But before that, you need to help me a bit." What? This war is a scheme created behind the scenes by those called the Secret Society. The Righteous Alliance and the Evil Alliance are now moving after falling for their machinations. If it's the Secret Society, could it be that? Yes. It's because they moved that the Righteous Alliance and the Evil Alliance joined hands to attack us. There's no time to explain further. You should immediately find your master, Bright Blade King, and deliver this. Before he could finish speaking, Ma Qiuqian shook his head and put his hand in his bosom, saying, "No. If that's true, I should find the head of the Wangbo clan, not Bright Blade King." The head of the Wangbo clan? Do you mean Wangbo Song? Yes. The head of the Wangbo clan is the leader of the Silent Strides. Silent Strides? So he was the one in charge of moving the spies? But what does that matter now? None of the Righteous Alliance members will believe you now. No. The head of the Wangbo clan will believe me. Swish. With those words, Ma Qiuqian pulled out a token from his bosom. It was the token that Ma Sang, an agent of the Silent Strides, the Righteous Alliance's spy group, had passed to Ma Qiuqian before being captured for spy detection in the Corpse Blood Valley. Although ordinary Righteous Alliance warriors might not recognize this token, it was different for Wangbo Song, the head of the Wangbo clan and the leader of Silent Strides. Block him. We must block him. The Corpse Blood Valley warriors desperately launched joint attacks to try to stop Zhang Haiyanmen, the Righteous Alliance leader. However, the title of being at the pinnacle of the current martial world wasn't for nothing. Foolish ones. Ha ha ha. Swish. Every time he gestured with his sword energy-imbued fingers. Swish. Swish, 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 swish. Coo. Arg. Sharp sword energy tore them apart, and they only lost their lives. All sword formations and defense lines were broken, and only 8 remained. Looking at those who were desperately trying to block him while backing against the rock with the secret passage, Zhang Haiyanmen sneered. That's right. Squirm to your best like the insects you are. Zhang Haiyan was about to move his hand to kill the remaining ones. But as he was about to do so, suddenly, as if something was blocking the sunlight, he saw a shadow being cast. What is this? What's going on? At that moment, the Corpse Blood Valley warriors guarding the rock looked up, unable to hide their bewilderment. Flinch. What is this? These complex energies? This was clearly ghost energy. Zhang Haiyan raised one eyebrow. It was impossible for Ryu Sowool to have escaped from the 36 stopping and sealing techniques that he had specially made just for her, and there was too much ghost energy for that. Whoosh! As the puzzled Zhang Haiyan lifted his head, he saw a large ship covered with numerous vengeful spirits falling at an incredible speed over the peak above his head. Chapter 475. Great Calamity. Part 3. Just moments ago. High in the sky, the demonic beast Human was flapping its wings vigorously. However, unlike usual, its wing motions seemed quite awkward and strained. This was because something was clinging to and replacing Human's wings, and that something was none other than hundreds of vengeful spirits. Originally, it should have gone through a recovery period for the wounded areas along with its demon power, but thanks to the vengeful spirits clinging and each one acting as a feather, it had barely managed to fly this far. However, flap, flap. Now it seemed to be at its limit. Both the clinging vengeful spirits and the demonic beast Human were struggling to keep flapping. The one fortunate thing was, there it is. Damn it. Is the war already underway? Siep Chun, looking down at the 10,000 great mountains below the ship, clicked his tongue. He knew something was happening, but he didn't expect the war to be in full swing already. To him, Jia Jiamzhong, the fallen monk subduing demon, said, "Hey, Siep Chun. That's all well and good, but we should probably decide where to land soon." Groan. The demonic beast Human's wing flaps were very unstable. It was evident from how the ship was gradually tilting. Mong Muyak, who had somewhat recovered from his internal injuries during the journey and regained his complexion, looked down. It's difficult anywhere. But since the war was already well underway, the various factions were all mixed up, making it hard to determine where to land. Just then, the vengeful spirit Hayun at the bow of the ship pointed somewhere. Whoosh! A heightened killing intent could be felt. At this, Guyong Sao, the 8-poison snake master, approached while leaning on his snake-headed cane and asked, "What's wrong?" "It's him. That's definitely him." The place the vengeful spirit Hayun pointed to was a mountain peak in the rear of where the war was taking place. Being so high up, it wasn't possible to see who was who. However, Guyong Sao could guess one thing from the killing intent he felt from him. Could he be there? If you really fight the one with the third eye, you'll know for sure. I still remember that time. At these words from the vengeful spirit Hayun, Guyong Sao recalled when he had received his help not long ago. At first, he thought it was truly strange to receive help from a vengeful spirit. But soon he learned that the vengeful spirit Hayun had connections with Mok Jiangun, Siep Chun, Mong Muyak, and others. When Siep Chun explained their situation at that time, the vengeful spirit Hayun couldn't contain his anger. "You said there's a being with a third eye on its forehead?" After that, he didn't give any detailed explanations, but it was clear that the vengeful spirit Hayun had some terrible grudge against Mok Gon, the leader of the secret society. Just then, the vengeful spirit Hayun shouted to Mok Jiangun's subordinates on the ship. "The ship will land soon. Hold on tight to the deck or anywhere you can." Land? Where on earth does he intend to do that? As they were puzzled, the vengeful spirit Hayun shouted to the demonic beast Human, who was holding the ship with its huge claws. "Human, land the ship towards that peak over there." "No, throw the ship there." "A ship? How is a ship?" "It's falling here." "I'll run away." The Corpse Blood Valley warriors guarding the rock entrance to the secret passage were so shocked at the sight of a large ship falling towards the peak that they scattered in panic. However, Zhang Haiyan, the righteous alliance leader, had no intention of avoiding it. Humph. Rather, he sneered at the falling ship and then swung his famous sword Ily upwards. Swoosh! The moment Zhang Haiyan swung his sword, a massive sword energy nearly 10 jang long surged from the famous sword Ily, splitting the falling ship in half. The ship, split in two, continued to fall, and the impact shook the peak as if an earthquake had struck. Boom! It was chaos as shattered peak fragments flew in all directions. In the midst of this, Zhang Haiyan, who had protected himself with his reverse force technique, deflected the fragments and dust with his sword energy as he headed towards the rock entrance. Did you think you could stop me with something like this? It was quite novel, but in the end, it was just a falling object. But as he walked forward, a fist attack flew towards him. Bang! Clang! Zhang Haiyan deflected the fist attack, which had power beyond his expectations, with his famous sword Ily imbued with sword energy. After deflecting the fist attack, he looked ahead and saw 5 figures in front of him. Recognizing them, Zhang Haiyan shook his head. They were Mok Jiangun's loyal subordinates. Led by Jia Jiamzhang, the fallen monk subduing demon, who was taking the stance of the 100-step divine fist, there was Ma Ra Haiyan with his face covered by a black cloth, Guyong Sao, the 8-poison snake master, holding his cane and exuding poison energy, and Siap Chun and Mon Muyak, all taking battle stances and blocking his path. Zhang Haiyan sneered at them and said, "You vermin have long lifespans. Kiki, who are you calling vermin? Ui parasite." Jia Jiamzhang shouted, not at all intimidated by his aura. Zhang Haiyan's eyes filled with displeasure at his outcry. Just because they were lucky enough to barely survive and return doesn't mean they can be his opponents, yet these vermin dare to stand on the same level as him. I'll have to make you feel how insignificant you are. Rumble. It was at that moment. Suddenly, dark clouds began to gather over the mountain peak where they were. Then the dark clouds flashed, and thunder and lightning struck. Zhang Haiyan's eyes narrowed. A demonic intent domain? As dark clouds formed where there had been not a single cloud before, Zhang Haiyan immediately realized that this was not a natural phenomenon, but a demonic intent domain created by a high-level vengeful spirit. Slither. But that wasn't the end of it. Numerous vengeful spirits began to appear all around. An incredible number of vengeful spirits, too many to count, filled the entire peak, and as ghost energy spread in all directions, those nearby got goosebumps without knowing why. In the midst of these vengeful spirits, an extraordinary vengeful spirit holding dual swords in both hands appeared. A high level. On par with Chang Ryong, no, even beyond that? The aura felt now seemed to be at the level of indigo spirit, not just on par with Chang Ryong. And yet, that vengeful spirit's appearance was strangely familiar. However, Zhang Haiyan didn't care about this. Rather, these vermin are annoying me. Those blocking his path were merely a nuisance. But unlike before, there were 2 masters of the transformation realm, one with strange power comparable to them, 2 at the peak of the transcendent realm, and on top of that, a vengeful spirit close to the indigo spirit level. Even for a body at the pinnacle, this couldn't be easily overcome, so he could no longer afford to hold back his strength. Crack! Zhang Haiyan's forehead split open, revealing his third eye. As the eye opened, the tremendous energy that spread out caused Mok Jiangun's subordinates blocking his path to tense up with wariness. On the other hand, the 3 eyes. Whoosh! The vengeful spirit Haiyun's resentment exploded even more upon confirming the third eye. His resentment was so deep that regardless of Zhang Haiyan's energy after opening the third eye, the vengeful spirit Haiyun flew towards him. Without any hesitation. Today, I will wash away the disloyalty of not being able to protect him that day. At the same time, Chang Ryong, trapped in the 36 stopping and sealing techniques, was concentrating all her power on the tip of the famous sword Sun Yun to break it. Power wasn't simply gathering spiritual energy into the sword. It literally meant imbuing it with the insights and form intent she had gained about the sword over time. In life, she had reached the transformation realm, transcending walls. Normally, it would be far from enough to concentrate power into a single point. However, for her who had become a vengeful spirit, human realms were meaningless. Rather, as a vengeful spirit, she had surpassed even the limit of purple spirit, considered the peak of their ranks. Hiss. The tip of Sun Yun, the pure white sword, was dyed in deep blood color. Her confused mind became blank, focusing on only one thing. Mortal. It was the image of Mok Jiangun when he concentrated all his power into one. As she projected this image onto herself, it became one with her mind. Swish. At that moment, a red line was drawn in the air. Crack. With that, the layered walls made of the main force of the 36 stopping and sealing techniques, which had seemed unbreakable, split in an instant. I did it. As she momentarily reached the realm of sword extreme that she couldn't attain in life, Changrayang's eyes filled with joy. All those experiences shared with mortal had accumulated to become her enlightenment. But this elation was short-lived. Her spirit body staggered as it escaped from the 36 stopping and sealing techniques. To think spiritual energy would be consumed to this extent? She had expected it to some degree since she concentrated all her spiritual energy into one point, but she didn't know it would impact her spirit body this much. As she staggered, she soon drew up her remaining spiritual energy. There was no time to waste like this. She had to go down immediately and warn about the approaching great calamity. Even if she exhausted all her remaining spiritual energy and her spirit body was on the verge of disappearing, she had to stop this. Until mortal arrived, she was the only one who could do this. Swish. It was at that very moment. A sharp sword energy grazed past, cutting off Changrayang's arm that was holding the famous sword Sun Yun. A scream burst from her lips as her spirit body was cut. Ah! Hiss! Her severed arm, being a spirit body, scattered and dissipated. However, the famous sword Sun Yun, being a physical object, was about to fall. She hurriedly tried to endure the pain and pull the famous sword Sun Yun back with her spiritual energy. No. But since her right arm's spirit body, which had been concentrating spiritual energy, was cut off, she couldn't pull it back. She flew downwards to catch the falling Sun Yun. She was falling to catch the sword. Whoosh! Grab! At that moment, the falling famous sword Sun Yun was caught by someone's hand. It was a middle-aged man with a rough appearance, thick eyebrows, and wearing a tiger skin. Though it was a face she was seeing for the first time, the chilling pressure she felt upon seeing him made Changrayang stop her flight and distance herself. After creating distance, she spoke with a darkened expression. What exactly is that body? As expected, you recognize it at a glance. Crack. With those words, the middle-aged man's forehead split open, revealing a third eye. As expected, it was Mok Gon's avatar. But while her spirit body had weakened, the pressure was on a different dimension from the avatars she had seen so far. The sharp energy flowing out felt like it could tear her apart at any moment. It's the body I cherish the most. I put quite a lot of effort into it. How many avatars have you created? Isn't it more foolish to think I only made a few avatars over countless years? So wool. Of course, creating an avatar is like splitting a healthy soul, so it's not infinite. Regrettably, these are the last avatars. Swish. Swish. As soon as his words ended, two more men appeared around her. Pointing at them with his eyes, Mok Gon's avatar said with a sneer. Leaving some in reserve is also a strategy. Changrayang's expression darkened at his words. While not as much as the avatar wearing the tiger skin in front of her, these were no ordinary beings either. No, from the moment Mok Gon possessed the body, they could be called peerless masters since they shared his enlightenment. Fighting is impossible. Poof. After quickly scanning them, Changrayang flew her form downwards. However, Mok Gon's avatar wearing the tiger skin blocked her path. Swish. Grab. Appearing with a shape-shifting technique, he roughly grabbed Changrayang's weakened left arm. Then, raising the famous sword Sun Yun, he said, "Even if your spirit body is damaged a bit more, it won't affect becoming one with your soul, so I'll leave just the head and torso. That anger will soon turn into affection." Mok Gon's avatar wearing the tiger skin swung down the famous sword Sun Yun towards Chong Ryong's left arm with a mad smile. Swish! Even though she had become a vengeful spirit, at the moment her arm was about to be cut off, she unconsciously flinched and couldn't help but close her eyes. But... twitch. Why do I still have sensation when my arm should have been cut off? Puzzled, she opened her eyes, and... cuff. In front of her eyes, Mok Gon's avatar wearing the tiger skin had not only created a considerable distance but was also clutching his severed right wrist in pain. What on earth is going on? As she wondered, Mok Gon's two avatars suddenly shouted in anger and flew towards her. Poof! You bastard! How dare you! It was at that very moment. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Between the two avatars rushing at incredible speed, black lines drew trajectories in all directions like meteors in the night sky. Then their approaching bodies were split into dozens, hundreds of pieces. Amidst the spraying blood in the air, the appearance of someone long awaited. At this, Chong Ryong murmured with reddened eyes. Mortal. It was none other than Mok Jiangyun.